Okay, so what you see here are a whole bunch of enemies lying on the floor. The blue guys are supposed to be cops. The guys that almost vaguely look like camouflage are the soldiers. This guy I'm pushing around, take that. And the fire guys are the looters, with all of these purple guys populating the rest of the world being civilians. Because in this demo, there are far too many nodes. There's far many more spawn points than we will have in the actual game. So if I were to increase the experience cap for the world to something that would actually cause this world to be reasonably populated with the enemies that we see here, it would take approximately 8 to 10 minutes to render, which I don't want to do. So I turned the experience value down, which if I go into the code I can show you. I turned the experience value down so that we would only render a small amount of enemies for the purposes of this demo. So right here you can see the enemy spawner is being told to spawn 1,000 experience points worth of enemies. And here in the enemy spawner, we currently have these temporary variables simply because we don't have defined values yet, and each of these enemies will store their own experience values in their respective controllers, which, as we discussed today, are not yet fully implemented. So we grab all of the nodes. Currently we're using the A-star nodes in the tiles that we're creating this weekend. They will have their own spawn nodes. So the number that that we saw there will be much fewer because each of those tiles have more than a single A-star node. Then we enter the main loop here that basically says that's just adding them to the list. For every spawn point, as long as there's still experience left, max experience being the parameter we passed in, which is that 1,000 right there, we wind up running through everything. We grab a random amount of experience for this encounter, and then we add enemies fitting that encounter and instantiate them in the world. And if we run out of max experience, we come down here and just create civilians at that spawn point. And that is how the code works in the very brief walkthrough. So this is proof that this is running, that we have the enemies. We can see Ethan's HUD down there taking some damage. Or actually, I believe Ian is responsible for that. So Ian's HUD taking a little bit of damage. So we're in good space. When we have the larger tiles than these small ones, you won't have this kind of cluster issue, which sort of results on them stacking on each other because they don't have anywhere to go. They'll actually be spread out and not on top of each other because, like I said, there'll be more space for them to actually spawn in than this tiny little ridge that you see here. So it will look a lot better this weekend. So that is that. Let's stop the game.